Hi and welcome to the Three Cups Full blog. I'm Sharanya, and at this blog we talk about how to live full of love, acceptance and respect, which are the three cups. We also talk about how to listen to our inner voice and to follow the guidance that's coming from our soul, to let that path unfold before us, as opposed to only sticking to what our mind tells us to do, which is a whole different path altogether. So we're in the middle of the Inner Voice series, and today we're talking about the second level of developing a relationship with your inner voice. It's the second level that develops after the gut response level. So in this level, we experience tiny teasers from our inner voice and from our connection to our soul, our connection to divine intelligence. And I call it flashes of insight. So this is where we get these little eureka moments, these little wisdom eggs, these golden nuggets of guidance that come often as a real surprise, and it just comes out of nowhere and you think, oh my gosh, that's perfect. It's a flash of insight, and it often comes in very random, various ways. It could be an email that you get from a friend and their tagline down the bottom is a little quote, and that's what you needed to hear at the time, and you notice it. It flashes up to you. So your system is trying to get this information to you in whatever way it can. You might walk over to a bookshelf and open up a book to a random page, and there's your answer right on the page. You could overhear a conversation in a coffee shop and some little wisdom nugget is there. But on a very subtle level, in your own inner world experience, you might actually hear your inner voice say something to you and guide you and help you with something that you've been trying to find an answer for. When this happens, we feel surprised, we feel taken care of, we feel guided, and we also feel a real sense of connection to something beyond us. And when that happens, it is really an experience that takes us beyond our mind and what our mind can give us. So when we experience something beyond your mind, there's a sense of wonder of what else is there? Where did this come from? What's happening here? It's often a wiser, more expansive voice, because it's coming from that part of ourselves that's connected to everything around us. So flashes of insight really are wonderful gifts. They are so welcomed at any given moment. That's what we want. We want a flash of insight. We want some clarity. We want something concrete to proceed with. We want to, make a decision on something, and you get this little bit of wisdom or this little bit of guidance, and it comes up like a flash, and it helps. It really helps. The challenge with flashes of insight is that when you've had a taste of it, so you've had a dream, and somewhere in the dream, your message was given to you. I'm talking about a dream where you go to sleep and you wake up and you think, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I was waiting for. Or you hear your inner voice. When you get a taste of it, it is so easy to then sit on your hands the next time you have a decision and wait for guidance and completely delay your life. That's the challenge when you enter that second level, the flashes of insight level. The challenge is not to procrastinate on making decisions because you have not yet received a flash of insight. So the way to get around that is just to know that the flashes of insight are there as almost milestones or flag posts telling you you're heading in the right direction. The more times it comes up, the higher the frequency of flashes of insight, the more you are moving towards a really close relationship with your inner voice. So take it as really positive signs, like the little crumbs on the trail. You're heading in the right direction, but don't stop walking just because you haven't heard or felt or been given that flash of insight. It is such a dangerous area to be in. It's it sometimes feels like ignorance is bliss. When I never had that flash of insight, I would just make my decisions from my mind and I would keep moving forward. But when you start getting these little nuggets of wisdom come up into your life, it's very difficult. It's really challenging to make a decision without it. And in those moments, when you've caught yourself procrastinating and being inactive, and sometimes it's you're just kind of paralyzed to make any decision because you're fearing, you're scared that you're going to make the wrong decision. In those moments, just have that mantra in the back of your mind that any decision is better than no decision. Any decision at all is better than no decision. Because when you get stuck and stagnant, that energy can become very heavy and pull you down and weigh you down, and that can snowball into a really thick mud that keeps you stuck exactly where you are. So you freeze frame life and you just end up being stuck there. So instead of waiting for those flashes of insight, just make the best decision with as informed as it can be with all the information you have. Use your discriminating mind, the faculty. One of the best faculties of your mind is that it can discriminate. So use that to filter out information that you don't think is relevant. Keep the stuff that you do and make a decision based on the data that you've got at present. And if the flash of insight comes, excellent, wonderful, but don't wait for it. This is the level where we can end up going to see psychics. When we go to the auntie that is really intuitive and you want her inner voice to give you an answer. It's a really kind of challenging place to be. On one hand, you're getting more links to your inner voice and it's starting to build. On the other hand, it's not fully developed yet, or it's not developed enough where you have an equal say in the conversation with your inner voice. So you're on the receiving end of the conversation with the inner voice. So you're just waiting for it to talk to you. You have not yet developed it to the point where you can ask a question and you can hear the answer. So that second level, the flashes of insight, can be quite challenging when you're in it, because you've had a taste of it. You know how amazing it is. You know how clear guidance can be from the inner voice. And when you don't get it, you can kind of get into a little bit of a panic or a little bit of anxiety and worry that you might make the wrong decision. And in those moments, you've got to tell yourself any decision is better than no decision. But with flashes of insight, it happens when you're really open. The way I describe it is your vessel. I just imagine like a little bowl is empty. And so whenever you're asking for guidance and when you're asking for questions, you haven't filled it up with what you want to hear. You're keeping it empty, you're keeping it open, which means that at some level you're okay with it going in any direction. And so when your vessel is empty, you're more likely to hear the information because you're not trying to control your inner voice, or you're not trying to influence what information you're getting. You're too invested in it. You want to be less attached to the outcome. And the way to do that is to kind of think about any given scenario of, if I go down this way, what would my life look like? If I go down path B, path C, path D, and then have an mystery path, which you don't have data for, but it could be there, something that's in your blind spot. And you kind of like visualize each different choice that you could make and where it could take you. And allow yourself to kind of process the different paths that you could go down, and be okay with each one. And when you let them go, that's when you can really keep the vessel empty to hear the guidance of path C. Go down that way, whichever one it is. So that's the challenge when you're in the level of flashes of insight. You're kind of halfway there. You can hear it, but not all the time. And when you do hear it, you're on the receiving end. You're not in any dialogue with the inner voice. So as a challenge for this week, practice keeping the vessel empty whenever you're making decisions. So for example, like the simple example we used in the last video, which was which bag of chips do I buy at the store? If you're feeling like you want twisties, you're going to be clouded. There's already twisties in the bowl and you're thinking, oh, please say that. That's what I really, really want. So delete that. Just be okay with both options and then just see what it says. And then you might hear your inner voice actually speak to you. That's different from the gut level. You might actually hear your inner voice speak to you, or you get a picture of which one you need to go with, or you might get a sense. It's different for each of us. I hear a voice, my inner voice, but some people do get pictures, and some people get like a sense. It's a feeling, but it's strongly coming from that divine part of you that's sending you information from deep within your inner world. So that is the second level, flashes of insight. Good luck this week, and I will see you all next week. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the blog at 3cupsful.com.au and share this video with your friends if you found it helpful. I will see you all next time. Bye for now.